Hello and welcome everyone to the pre-recording of the group conversation for Secure and Defend. My name is David DeSanto. I'm the Director of Product of the Secure and Defend section. One of the main highlights for this group conversation we want to make sure everyone is aware of. First, Fuzz testing has moved to minimal. At the beginning of August, it became available on the .com or SaaS offering. And so that is now ready for you to run coverage guided Fuzz testing. On the defense side, container host security also moved to minimal. This is providing container visualization and support for blocking attacks that are coming into your environment. We'll talk more about both of them as we go through the call here. On the secure side, again, we're shooting to move the 4 core categories, SaaS, DAS, dependency scanning, to complete and Fuzz testing to viable in the next 6 to 12 months. We have a lot of really great features that have come out since the last group conversation. There's things related to on-demand scans for DAS, so being able to run web vulnerability scans outside of the pipeline. I just mentioned our coverage guided fuzzing MVC released as well. Again, very exciting. And then finally, we're continuing to expand what you can do with SaaS, including bringing SaaS down to core. We have a lot of great things coming out over the next couple of months as well. A good example is our API fuzzing. So you'll be able to fuzz REST APIs that are defined in Open API v2 or Open API v3 format. We're also beginning to expand what you can save with regards to DAS to help you build new tests faster. This includes site profiles as well as the profile library itself. Again, coverage guided fuzzing has been merged and is shipped with on .com for Go and C++ support. You can see the screenshots on the right here as to how you get to the content. We're also very excited about the fact we already have customers who are gold subscribers using it and have actually found vulnerabilities in their applications that have been there for years, but traditional AST testing had not found them for them. We also have a great blog that goes over what is fuzzing, and we're going to be making a lot of training material available to you as well. The point I want to drive home with fuzzing and why we acquired the companies is kind of captured on the right there with the picture. You can see from left to right is known to unknown vulnerabilities, and then going deeper here is visible to hidden for source code. And our traditional AST features have lived on the left side of that, where things like SaaS can see the source code. DAS doesn't see the source code, it uses the review app. Whereas then on the right, coverage guided fuzzing can see the source code and can find those unknown vulnerabilities. And then the API fuzzing and eventually our protocol fuzzing offering are that bottom right. So it's allowing you to test deeper and wider than you could before. We touched on this very briefly on a couple of the release kickoff calls, but there's a lot of great work being done to our UIs. We're going to be able to support configuration of the scanners in a traditional point and click drop-down type menuing, giving us a nice jump in our maturity and allowing us to get greater adoption. And the last thing I want to highlight for you is our SMAU data. We're beginning to see this collected. It's available in the handbook. You can actually go and look at the charts separately, but you can see a steady growth with secure. And it's very exciting to see that in just a short amount of time for .com users, over 90% of them are using secure today. And that puts us around 7,500 monthly active users by the end of the month. Self-host is a little bit harder for us to capture. A lot of the secure users are in offline environments, or they have concerns about reporting data due to privacy. And so what we've been able to do is take the data that we see for .com and extrapolate what it would be for self-hosted. And we can do that because secure is predominantly a driver for Ultimate, just like it is for Gold. And we know how many total users we have for self-hosted. So from that, if you take that and you extrapolate out what that would look like, it actually brings us to over 60,000 monthly active users. That's an incredible feat for us in just a short amount of time. And we're seeing that drive more and more with a lot of the really large deals that have closed recently that are in the thousands of seats. And the predominant, again, driver was secure. Last thing I just want to touch on before we kick over to defend, We did have our last strategy review back in June. We shared it with you right after it happened because we had a group conversation call. Our next one's in just a couple of weeks. So please go check it out on the Secure Stage calendar. Join if you like. We'll also update you with a link to the recording once it's available. On the defense side, again, can't stress how awesome it is that we now have container host security available. Also, recently, we've been able to support exporting of logs to your syslog, so you have a central collection point. We also released our first policy management UI, which gave you that feeling of a YAML file you can configure and save. But we have a lot of really cool things coming up, including point-and-click UI for policies, as well as additional controls, including things like alert management. On the container host and host monitoring and protection, you can see here we've launched with 3 main features: intrusion prevention, application allow listing, and file integrity. Those together are going to give you really good protection within your cloud native environment. You can see on the right the screenshots of how to install them. And as I mentioned, as we get further and further with this, it'll get more feature rich. Here's an example that policy manager I just mentioned. You can see on the right is the policy definition. And more of that will be coming over the next couple of weeks in updates, I should say. The final point for Defend before I hand it over to my engineering counterparts. Defend had its last strategy review back in May. We've included a link to the recording here so you can check it out. The next one's actually today. So I can't give you a link for it because we're recording today ahead of the group conversation. I don't have a time machine, so that would be pretty cool. So we will provide that information both in our Slack channels that you're all members of, as well as it'll be available on YouTube, like the secure ones are. And with that, I want to hand it over to Todd to talk a little bit about engineering metrics.
All right, thank you, David. And I just wanted to remind everybody that the Secure and Defend section has 2 sub-departments within it. One of them being the secure stage, which still houses all the secure analyzers and scanners. And Wayne, would you like to cover the threat management section?
Sure, and the threat management team has the vulnerability management group inside Secure that looks at the vulnerabilities and makes them available to users and lets them work with them, and also the container security group, which is inside the defense stage.
All right, and I just wanted to cover the secure subdepartment OKRs that we're working through for Q2. The first one had to do with the 6-month rolling average, and you can see our July numbers are pretty high in comparison. This actually had to do with when we were processing CVEs, we discovered a feed that we were missing. So we had approximately 180 CVEs that we had to modify to get caught back up. So that's why the July numbers are exceptionally higher than we were expecting. And then for the second OKR, for 13.2, we came in at 77% for our say-do ratio.
So for the threat management subdepartment, number of things to celebrate, including the team completed iteration training. We improved the code review process for all of engineering, put in a number of MRs that were merged on that to improve it. Added a database maintain trainer on the team, which we don't have enough database maintainers currently across GitLab, so that helps. And we also delivered all planning priorities on time. So some things that we didn't complete but made great progress on was getting the team member monthly merge request rate per engineer to greater than 10. We actually got it to the highest it's been since the creation of the team, basically back in November of last year. So it was actually at 7.4 versus a goal of being greater than or equal to 10. And we're working to improve this further via balancing higher effort merge requests with lower effort merge requests, breaking up work into smaller chunks, and bringing more items to iteration office hours. In terms of using more of the product, we wanted to dog food at GitLab all of the threat management department features. One is completely in use and working well. That's the vulnerability management side. And then on some of the defend features, we weren't completely successful of using them inside GitLab, partially successful, but we learned quite a bit, which can be used to improve the product. And lastly, North Star metrics is 2 metrics are working as planned and 2 additional metrics are implemented but not fully working on the threat management team and actually with the telemetry team as well to fully complete this.
Thanks, Wayne and Todd. And with that, I'm just going to hop to the end, which is a lot of slides. And there we go. So all three of us want to thank you for taking the time to watch the video ahead of time. We look forward to answering your questions during the group conversation session this Wednesday or this Thursday. But please take a moment to go through all the slides. There's a lot of great content in here. Both the product and engineering teams have spent a lot of time to make sure you have the most up-to-date data. So again, if you have a moment, please check it out. Otherwise, we look forward to talking to you all on Thursday.